I'm mad and awake, but pretending to be asleep. And she's bumping into things. And suddenly she lets go of the loudest fart that I have ever experienced. It was thunderous.
Hi, I'm Lisa Joyner, wife of
TV megastar Jon Cryer.
Mega.
Yeah.
And I'm Morgan Walsh, married to
comedy legend and great actor Matt Walsh.
This is a podcast about what it's like when your significant other
is just a little too significant.
Welcome to Plus One.
How are you?
I'm well. I'm Morgan
I love
Walsh.
the pink.
Thank you.
I'm Lisa Joyner.
And I'm pretty in pink.
You are. Oh.
Come on. Hashtag nailed
That's nice.
It's very fitting for today.
Yes, this is so strange. I am not, I will admit, and if I look nervous or feel like off to you, it's because I'm not great at being interviewed.
We'll see. I feel you're a great conversationalist.
Okay.
But you just don't, it's the feeling of being.
Yeah.
You're just used to doing the interviews.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, being a plus one, I got so used to doing interviews myself. So when people started interviewing me because I was with my famous husband, I was like a deer in the headlights. It was really hard.
And then you hop behind there and was like, I'll edit that real quick.
Exactly. This would be so much better if I just do it this way.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
How are you? Because it's been busy.
Lisa, I cannot see straight. I hardly know my own name. I have 2 children graduating. We have family in and out of town. We have our podcast, our project here. I have other work, the documentary I'm working on. And in this window of time, it seemed really wise, right? To get a puppy, very large.
Not a dog, a puppy.
A puppy. I'm going to say a couple things. One is this puppy is wonderful, delightful, but she did.
This is prefacing.
It is because I want people to like her. But yes,
not only a people pleaser, she wants a dog pleaser.
She has chewed up 2 pairs of my favorite shoes. Now I don't have any. She ate some of my Prozac. There's 5 of us in the house. So when we work with a trainer to really try to do what's best for the dog, there's a lot of translation that has to happen because not everybody can be there. And
everybody needs to be on board with it.
Same way.
Yeah.
Consistently. Being consistent just for basic life is difficult, especially at this season of time where our oldest just graduated high school.
And that's probably bringing up a lot of feelings.
I have disassociated completely. Yeah, there are tons of feelings. I will say my dad, he was visiting. My dad was like, well, now how do you really feel about this graduation? Like, I would be sad. And I have to say, I'm not. I am just moved by it. I'm, after his graduation, we all went out to lunch and it was very, thank God it was something I didn't have to plan. Because I cannot plan anything else in the middle of finals and doctor's appointments and all of it. And it just came together. And he had 3 friends that are from different parts of his life. One who they've known each other since they were babies. We call her a comedy cousin, Lake. And then Leo, who he went to middle school with and stayed friends with. And then Franco from his swim team. And everybody went around the table and shared a memory.
Oh.
And it was great to hear how he moves around in the world,
And how other people see him.
Yes.
Yeah. Because our kids, especially at that age, have such a narrow view of who they are.
Yep.
So it's really nice to see that.
They reflected back to him their experiences with him. And Matt and I got to share memory after memory. So anyway, that's been beautiful. And then our daughter graduates 8th grade tomorrow, which is also a huge milestone. And I'm floating above things at the moment.
Well, it's interesting because when you're in it, it's just so overwhelming. But, isn't it amazing that we always do get through it?
100%.
Somehow.
Yes.
Somehow at that time. We've been talking about this, not here, just in life. don't know if life could be busier. We've just got so much going on. We have the same thing. There's just so many things happening. I'm going to just say I am blessed. I have so much gratitude for all the blessings I've been given and all the work I've been given. But sometimes it just gets to be overwhelming. And a lot of it is, if you take anything from this podcast today, people, is don't get a puppy.
Yeah, that's the main thing.
Because,
or a second rooster.
Yeah, we have a beautiful little dog named Martha who is, I thought, adding to the other 2 dogs that we have, breathe some life into the house. And and I'm not going to go into great detail because a lot of people that have followed me maybe on Instagram or something kind of know, the dog is trouble. The dog is, I liken the dog to a beautiful, not so smart teenage girl. She is really, really cute, but
She's so cute.
but does not know her way around the world and likes to put everything in her mouth. And so yesterday, after she's been hospitalized several times, the last time was for eating 2.8 ounces of dark chocolate, which is very toxic. So she was hospitalized. But this time, a couple days later, didn't learn from that, went into the cupboard, the door was closed, went through somehow got into the pantry, somehow got in the pantry. She's tiny too, and ate a full cup and a half of brown sugar.
Oh my God.
Not toxic. Looked it up.
But she was she was really breathing life into the house.
She was not hyper. She was actually like, what did I do? Oh. But anyway, we're going through the same thing.
Yes.
It's just, and it's just one of those little, you think you think you're being on time today?
Yes.
No.
Yes, that's exactly right. It's the bandwidth. There's just no more space, but you're right. We get through it. And there's some laughs and some tears. Yes. But we get to be here, and I think it's important that we say these things out loud, because everybody's lives right now, it seems like they're very full. There's a lot of external pressure.
Yeah.
Happening.
And that's kind of one of the reasons we're here.
Yes.
Is we want to be a little bit of that
relief.
Just hang out with us and laugh a little bit and listen and we're all in this together,
Yes, yeah. Which is why I'm excited that I get to talk to you in this way, like we've talked to our other plus ones, and find out, from you what your plus one journey has been, because you were well established in the entertainment industry and familiar with showbiz. And then you found yourself being courted by one Jon Cryer. What was it like?
It was interesting. I mean, I had dated a couple celebrities before, so that wasn't completely new. But
Brad Pitt?
Only. What did you hear? No. No. Just a couple, and it was very, it wasn't like for long term or anything like that. But it was really, it's interesting. I don't know how to answer that question, just because I remember specifically this one point. I was at a very dear friend of mine and also a producer of mine's party, and John and I had just started dating, and I hadn't told anybody, and we kind of kept it on the down low for a while. I don't know why. I just felt like, we were both single. It was a complete, it was fine, but I don't know. I wanted to hold that for a little while, and my phone rang, and then his name popped up. And she looked, and she's Kimberly. She's the best. But she was like, "What? Are you dating Jon Cryer? Oh my God, Ducky! Oh my God!" And I was like, "No. He's just calling because I did an interview." I was like choking. I didn't know what to say.
Also, you're not a good liar. Like you
I was
don't
not
lie.
at that point. Boy, I was terrible. And
now you're great at it.
Yes, I honed my skills. But anyway, I don't know why. It took me a while. I went on the set of his show. I had a show for TV Guide Network at one point where I went behind the scenes of your favorite television shows, and we would do a whole hour on it. And I went on set for 2.5 Men, and we were dating at the time, but nobody really knew.
When you're really thirsty, you want to drink 2.5 Men. Oh, I'm not even going to go into that one.
And so I did this whole interview. He did this walk around the set. I interviewed Charlie Sheen. I interviewed everybody in the cast. And then as we were walking around and we're doing this interview, about the end of the day, 3/4 of the day, I had a crew with me, and they were like, do you know him? And I was like, yeah, I've interviewed him a couple times. But that, and
There
then
was
we,
a familiarity. There was a
yeah, and we were flirting. And so it gradually happened. And then when we went public, I guess, it's not like, now people go, I'm Instagram public. It wasn't that didn't exist. But when we started telling people, it was a quick shift. It was very different. My job felt different all of a sudden. My life felt different all of a sudden.
How?
I was very singular in my focus at that time. I was working on my career. I had gained a lot of attention from, at least locally in Los Angeles, because I did entertainment in a bit of a different way. And then all of a sudden there was another spotlight on us. And so it did feel, and it's funny you're asking me that, I've never really thought about it, but I felt very different. It felt very complex. It did not feel the same. And it sort of made me try to find my equilibrium.
Yeah.
I knew who I was. I mean, I was 38 years old, I think, when we met, and I knew or we met and started dating. I knew who I was, and then all of a sudden that was a little askew.
Yeah.
'Cause
You have
how
to
does
incorporate this element.
Yeah, and it's a big element.
It is.
He's got a big, everybody remembered him from Ducky and Pretty in Pink, and then Two and a Half Men was this huge global hit. And so I just sort of had to recalibrate, like, okay, how do I include this person into my already full life? I had, I didn't need him for anything. It wasn't like I was looking to fill a need. You know what I mean?
Right.
I was very satiated in my life.
He was additive, as you.
Yeah.
I think you're very good about saying that.
I had a house. I had a career. I was on a trajectory. So then I had to just go, okay, well, let's figure out how this works.
Yeah, incorporating him into your space and then you folding into his. He had a child and an ex-wife. How was that, becoming a blended family or stepping into that role as a stepmother?
I always tell people being a stepmom was one of the hardest jobs I've ever had. And I don't mean like the kid was bad. Charlie was lovely, but he was very young. I mean, I met him when he was 5 years old. Oh, wow. So he's now 26.
Wow.
So I've been in his life way more than I haven't.
Right.
But it was very hard. It was a very hard situation. First of all, I didn't have any kids. I didn't have any experience. I was always very nurturing, but I wasn't sure if I wanted to have children. But I did love having kids in my life. So it was, again, that was all right, how do we do this?
Yes.
I'm always very good at learning and experiencing and stuff like that. So I said, this is a challenge and we're going to do that.
Walking a line,
Yeah. And I always wanted him to feel that I was not trying to replace anybody. I wanted to feel additive to his life and like how exciting it would be for Lisa to be here and it took a long time.
Well, and you have a unique perspective on the role of a parent, right? So now here you are trying to figure out how to be a step parent. And I would imagine that position in someone's life has a lot of gravity for you in different ways.
It does. I think that I made a decision early on that if I did I love kids, but if I did have children, if I did start a family, that I wanted to be all in. It was like, I don't want to, I'm not a person, even if I had money or something, I didn't want somebody else raising my child. I wanted to be hands-on, down in the dirt, on the floor with the Legos. And when Charlie came into my life, and he didn't warm to me right away. And so I just kind of sat back and waited for him to come to me.
Was that hard? Did you want to please or?
Well, it's funny because you know me so well that it would seem like it was, but I thought, I am in this for the long game.
Yep.
I knew by the time I met Charlie, I knew that John and I were going to be in each other's lives for a long time. I didn't know how long. So yeah, I was like, I'm in this for the long game. I'll wait it out. I'll be myself. I'll be open and engaging. I'll let him know he's always got a place here.
I'll make some great pastries.
Yes, I will bribe him with food.
I will
Absolutely.
bake my way right into his heart.
I will. I used all those tricks. So it did take a long time, but it paid off.
Yeah. That is a big deal to be a blended family, come in that way.
It really is.
And then you're balancing your career, your witness, but also now participant in John's career to a certain extent, and then you decide you want to expand your family.
Yes.
Did you always know you wanted to adopt?
I always thought if I did have a family, I would love to adopt, just because of my own personal experience of being adopted and sort of want to forward that. And I always wanted to let people know, I don't know, even at a young age, that adoption is a choice. It doesn't have to be a last choice. You know what I mean?
I want you to explain what you mean by that.
A lot of people that I've talked to have said, you know, I can't have kids. I'm having trouble. I'm having fertility issues. You know, I've spent all this money doing IVF and da 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 da. And I'm like, that's fine. Whatever your journey is, whatever you need to do is fine. But it's not the only choice you have. You know, being a child who's adopted and who was in foster care, my life could have ended so much differently than it did. And I wanted to make sure that I gave that opportunity to another child, if I had the opportunity, to see them, to understand them, to have that commonality about what it means to be adopted, and to let other people know that this is a beautiful, wonderful, surprising, amazing choice to make if it works for your family and not a last resort.
I actually have a number of friends who are adopted. And I don't think I've ever heard someone say, it doesn't have to be the last choice. It can be the first. That's so beautiful.
And that was in my case.
Yes.
I could have children, but I don't know, I felt like this was something I had to do. But when I woke up and told John at 2:00 in the morning, because I told him I was 90% sure that I wasn't going to didn't want kids, I woke up and I was like, got out of bed like this, and I said, honey, and he's like, yeah. I said, I think I want to have a child. And he went, what? You can this wait or? And I said, no. And I said, adopt. And so that was kind of it. And he said after that, it was like baby, 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 baby. That was on my brain.
Yes, because you had shifted into that gear.
Yeah.
And how then was that incorporating? So now you're a stepmom. And adoption, here's the thing too. I love that you made the choice to adopt because, again, you uniquely understand the gravity of that choice.
Yeah.
And what it means and the complications. So you do that, you have your professional life, and then you have John's. How was that? Did you find yourself shifting gears like when you had John that you incorporated into your life? Did you find like, oh, wow, now I'm a mother? And
Yeah. And before I even get to that, absolutely. I think we all do. It's interesting because I've talked a little bit about my choice to adopt and the blessing that I got by being able to be the mother to my child. But the gift that I don't talk about that often is the biological mother of my child. The relationship that I have with her is like no other relationship I've ever had. It's like relationships that nobody ever talks about.
how was the adoption set up? So walk us through that.
We wanted to do public adoption because I was in foster care. I know the statistics of kids in foster care. I was lucky. I got adopted at 3 months old.
What are some of the statistics of
Some of the
kids?
statistics are really scary. It's kids who enter the foster care system, go to 12 different homes, they age out, they end up on the streets, sexual abuse, don't graduate high school. I mean, it's really terrifying what can happen. If they're not given guidance, they don't have mentorship. Imagine not knowing what it feels like for somebody that cares about you to hug you. I mean, just think about that. Foster kids get shuffled around from 10 to 12 different homes with a plastic bag. There's zero dignity. How do you get self-esteem if you have no dignity? There's so many things that went into my decision. And so we tried to do it publicly so that I could just go through foster care and stuff. But the problem with that is John's show was at the height. I was working and all of your information becomes public. You have to. It's very difficult to adopt. I mean, you have to go through a lot of hoops and jump through a lot of hoops. So we decided to do a private adoption. And when we did that, basically your private information stays private, thankfully. You still have to go through the live scan and the, the home studies and all that kind of stuff, but you're typically put together with an attorney. And when I met my child's birth mother, she was very young in the pregnancy, and all the signs were red flags. I'm not going to go into them because that's, her business. But there was something about it that I knew it was right. And I had people that were close to me saying, you're going to get hurt. You're going to be disappointed. And I can't tell you what it was. There's something in my gut. I always follow my gut. And I knew that this was the child for me. This was the relationship. This was somebody that felt like was in my life before. So I went through the whole pregnancy with her. I went to every doctor's appointment. I talked to my baby. We became, I wouldn't say inseparable, but we became very, very close. And that's a relationship I never would have had if I hadn't chose adoption.
That's so powerful.
Yeah.
Wow. So you have Lee, and you're now forming this family, and you're also trying to work, right? Are you having a shift in your mind about the role work is going to take in your life? And also certainly this thread of adoption, or this through line of adoption in your life, starts to inform your professional choices.
At that time, right after Lee was born was when 2.5 Men sort of blew up, and we were going through all that with the unfolding of the show.
Yeah, it was wild. I mean,
Yeah.
any news story you turned on, any radio, everything was talking about the meltdown of Charlie Sheen. And we were, sorry, I'm going to say this, we were waiting at the edge of our seat, much like we are today with our president, of like, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
We don't know what's he going to say today.
Yeah.
You know?
And for us, it was very personal, and it was scary for John because he really cared about Charlie.
Of course.
And we had a newborn, and we were building a house, and we were going through some custody issues too that took center stage. So we were being pulled in every position. So I, at that time, to answer your question, decided to step back from work because I was needed more at home, and I needed to bond with my child and be with my kid. And so I stepped away for a little while, and stepping away while I chose it, and I knew that that was the right thing to do, was very difficult because I was really motivated by work, and I had excelled and met more than my expectations, my hopes and dreams. I mean, I wanted to do a talk show, for the longest time. I wanted to do
And here you are.
I wanted to do a late night talk show when no women were doing it. And, one of the reasons I got into the business was David Letterman. I used to watch him on my little black and white TV and be like, God, I love what he's doing. It's so interesting. And I had, prior to this, a couple years earlier, he'd seen me doing a broadcast and wanted to sign me to a deal. So it was like, what is happening in my life? And we, I got to meet him and take out a show with him. And it was, so when I decided to actually step back, even though, like I said, it was my choice, it was really difficult. And I had kind of a crisis for 2 years.
I was going to say identity crisis.
Again, another identity crisis, So I finally kind of made peace with it after talking to some therapists and a spiritual advisor. I know that sounds very woo-woo. I know you're into it, but,
come on.
Our listeners may not be.
I have an oracle deck and a tarot deck in my bag. I threw in my rose quartz and some stones in the bag.
Yeah.
Usually I have one in my, anyway.
She said to me, say goodbye to that person. And I was like,
whoa.
I said, what? What do you mean, say goodbye?
What?
She said, you will work again. You will be successful, but that person is gone.
Oh my God.
So that just really hit me when she said that. She said, say goodbye to that person.
Wow.
And I thought about it, and I'm like, you're right. My life will not be the same. I will not be the same person. My priorities have shifted. And when she told me, she said, no, you're going to work. It's not that. I started to feel some calmness and peace with it.
And you are a person that really goes on your gut.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It doesn't steer me wrong.
It It doesn't, because I've been witness to so many of the choices that you make based on that, and it's awesome. I can only I can't only imagine. I did it too. I understand saying goodbye to a chapter, being willing to step away from one chapter, but you're still holding all that life experience and trusting that you're going to be able to use it at some point, and you have been able to use it professionally and personally.
Some of my best things, some of my best work has come after that.
Yeah. So you've made this bold move to dial yourself into your family and step away from work. What does that bring up for you now that you're filling this role as a mother? What starts to happen for you given your history?
Well, it was really interesting because I have a very strong sense of family, even though I didn't have a big family, lost my family when I was very young. But for some reason, that has been a very...
You are that. You
I
are
am
really a gatherer.
Yeah.
You're a nurturer, a giver of food, things that bring people together. That's so true of you.
So when I stepped back, it was very important to be with the family and to figure out how best of service I could be. And that came shortly after the fact that I found my biological family. I had had this mental search in my brain. You always make up these ideas. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna ask you, what were some of your ideas? What would you fantasize about?
Well, you would fantasize, when I was a teenager and stuff, I would fantasize, or, when I started working, and waitressing or whatever, I would fantasize about who's this person. And you always, for me personally, and for the majority of adoptees that I've learned, is you fantasize about your biological mother because she had to, house you, and, and she was a part of you for a long time. So I would think, every once in a while I'd be like, I wonder if they're millionaires, or I wonder, what they're doing, or who do I look like? That was that was a big one.
Did you ever wonder if they were a customer in your restaurant?
100%. I remember, that's what triggered this, is I remember this woman coming in who would probably be about the right age. We had sort of the same skin tone. I was born outside San Diego, so she could be in LA. And, I was sort of waiting on her, see if there's anything that we had in common, But, you have those. As an adoptee, you have those your whole life. It's just, it's unavoidable.
I have one of my closest friends is adopted, and she really deeply believed that her biological mother was Roseanne Barr.
Really?
Yes. And had this whole trajectory. She's in comedy, performer, had this whole thing about that.
Well,
turned out to be true. No, it didn't. It was not.
Can you imagine? You hold out. All you have is your imagination. In most cases, especially, I should say, in my time when I was adopted, is the records were sealed, and so you had what little information this poor woman gave to a social worker way back when, and if they kept it or if they took the right notes. So I really didn't have anything. I knew where I was born, I knew my birthday, and the hospital. And that's it. So you make all these assumptions, you draw all these parallels, you fantasize, and then you get on with your life and you forget about it for a while. But I started looking years and years ago, and I'm like, I'm Joe Journalist, I can do this. No, it was impossible. Everything was closed off. And, and then I got busy with my career and I forgot that. And then I was working at the local Fox affiliate doing entertainment reporting, and I had hired somebody at one point, a private investigator, to look, and they kept running up against brick walls.
The same things you were running up against?
Yeah, the same things. And then I honestly, one day I picked up the phone. I was getting ready for my 10 o'clock broadcast, and I picked up the phone, and it was a regular viewer who was kind of a pain in the butt. I think
I'm sorry I called right then.
I know. Well, he used to call and I would just be like, I'm in the middle of something. But he called and he knew, and I had talked very openly. Jillian Barbary at the time, she and I were both adopted. So we'd talk every once in a while openly on the air about being adopted. And he said, if you're looking, I have a friend who used this other person. And I was like, I'll just jot it down. I got to go, but I'm on a deadline. And I jotted it down, and I did call her, and she was out of Arizona, and I called this woman, and I said, hey, I think I'm ready to really look again.
It's all in the follow-up. It's all you
Yeah.
you called the number.
Yeah.
So what happened?
So
I mean, I know what happened, but talk about what happened.
she took on my case. She said, first of all, you need more information because you have nothing. So I had to file papers to the state, which this is a life mission for me for adoptees. I had a petition to get my unidentifying information, which means the information that the social worker took down that does not divulge the identity of your birth parents, but tells you and informs you a little bit more about you. For example, she was 20 years old when she placed you for adoption, and in the family there was diabetes and this and this and this. This is information that most people have, but adoptees don't have. So the circumstances surrounding your adoption, meaning, what did she tell you about your birth father? That kind of stuff.
Things that don't reveal her identity, but are
Yes.
very pertinent to the
Yes.
adoptee.
Yes.
And your life mission is to help make that information more accessible.
Yes, and they are opening up. They are opening up in certain states. Certain states, New York, for example, is still very closed off.
So it varies state to state.
State to state, yeah. Illinois, where my brother was adopted, they just opened up so you can get your unamended birth certificate. So it just depends. So anyway, I had to go through that work, and it took about 6 months. And I'll never forget, when I got the non-identifying information, I saw this big, thick packet that was from the state, and I sat down. I sat down, not before I had a glass of wine. I brought a glass of wine, and I sat down. Sounds like I'm, indulging a lot. But, and I sat down because my life was going to change. These pages were going to change my life. And in fact, they did. And so I got information about how old my birth mother was, what she knew about my birth father, that he was of Asian descent, but it didn't say what. And that's the first time I'd ever heard that. That's
the first time you ever heard that.
Meantime, I'm on camera, and every single day, at least once a day, I was asked, who are you? What are you? And I would just make stuff up because I was just like, I didn't want to get into it with him. I was like, are you Black? Yes, I'm Black. Mm-hmm. So anyway, I got this information, then I finally gave it back to her, and I was going along with my work, and I was doing a press junket, and I got a phone call when I was in the screening of this movie, and I went out.
What was the movie?
Austin Powers. I'll never forget. I don't remember which one, though.
That's really funny.
And she called me and she said, I found your biological father. It was not easy. I had to go through his brother, my biological uncle. And when my biological uncle answered the phone, and she identified herself, because she has to be very careful. She's a mediator. So if they shut the door and say, we don't want to have anything to do with it, she can't give me the information. So she has to really walk a fine line, make them feel comfortable. And he said, who are you looking for? And she said, Warren. And he said, why are you looking for my brother? And she said, somebody is searching for him. And my uncle said, does she want money? Because they're always a little like, why is this person coming out? And she said, no, she doesn't want money. She wants information. She told him who I was, and he goes, oh, he didn't know anything about me. So he said, I'll talk to my brother. He talked to his brother, my biological father, and he said, oh my God, that's my child. That's probably my child. He didn't tell any of the family about me because he says he didn't know about me.
Okay.
So the next day, the searcher called up and said, I found your biological mother. And I was like, because through the help of my biological father. I said, oh my God, what happened? She said she didn't want to, she wouldn't give me anything. She made me do all the work. And I said, well, what happened? She said, she kept asking me questions. Who is she? If she's my biological daughter, what's her birthday? And she gave my birthday, 12/31. And then she kept asking questions. And then she said, okay, if this is my daughter, what was her name at birth? And she said, Susan Michelle. And my biological mother broke down crying. And she said, that's my baby. Still brings me to tears.
There's something about names, I think.
Yeah.
To hear like, your name was Susan Michelle.
Mm-hmm. Isn't that weird?
Yeah. But powerful. Like, it is also who you are, Wow.
That is such a weird name for me, though. Come on.
Sure. Well, my friend who thought her mom was Roseanne Barr, her birth name was Ginger. Now she's Laura, you know?
Yeah.
So you are like a freight train in a very short period of time, having all these pieces come to you.
Instead of running away or taking a beat, because I don't typically do that,
Nope.
I called and said, can I meet you guys this weekend?
Wait,
I'll go down.
they're not together.
They're not together.
So, but you make the assumption that they need to come together.
I
because
didn't know. I was going to meet them separately.
Okay.
But I had the conversation. The funny part of the conversation with my biological father was he talked to the searcher. He said, I'll be willing to meet her. Absolutely. Which I was so happy for. And I was supposed to call him. He said, have her call me. And I didn't call him that night. I didn't call him the next morning. And he called the searcher back and said, well, I'm pins and needles. Why hasn't she called me? And she told me this. And I said, I've waited like 35 years. He can wait overnight, you know? And then with my biological mother, she found her the next day. And I said, okay. And so I called both of them separately and I recorded it. So I had their voices. And I didn't tell them what my last name was. I didn't want them to Google me. I didn't want them to want to meet me because I was semi-famous. I just wanted them to want to know me because I wanted to get information. I just needed to know stuff. I needed to know my health history. I needed to know the circumstances. I needed to know my identity. So
It's
I said,
important to know where we've come from to know where we are and where we're going.
Absolutely.
There's all those pieces.
absolutely. I didn't know how important until I did it. And so I called them. I said, can I meet you this weekend? I'll drive down to San Diego. And
Were they both in San Diego?
They were both in San Diego, but they hadn't seen each other since. So they lived like 4 miles apart and they had not seen each other. And so I went down there and met them.
Wow.
So, and my story felt fairly, there's not a lot of scandal. It wasn't a lot, you know, it was a relationship that didn't work out. You know, there's differing opinions on if he knew I was there, he knew she was pregnant or if she didn't, whatever. I don't care. You know, I was a fully formed human by the time I met them. I didn't need anything from them. So I was able to have a good relationship with my biological father's side. They were very family oriented. They were from Malaysia. I finally knew where I was from, what my ethnic background was. They came over from Malaysia. Literally, Warren brought all his entire family over. And then I got to know just a little bit my biological mother.
Did you have siblings?
I do. I have my half sister Claire and I are very, very close. I had a couple on the other side. One of them died. And
So they're still on the other side. Sorry, I'm a terrible person.
that's it was getting way too heavy. No, I appreciate that. So anyway, the point in this is that I knew that my story was fascinating to people, even though to me it was like, right, it's kind of normal. It's just my life. And so, but I started thinking about it as a producer, as I've always been a producer, and I was like, there's a million stories out there that are amazing. And a bunch of journeys that we could take people on. And I'm not really gifted in that many things, except I'm tenacious. I don't stop if it's something that I love and believe in.
If your gut's telling you to do it, you follow it.
So cut to years and years later, a show called Find My Family came to me. It was a show on ABC. They asked me to be a host. Aired on ABC for, I don't know, it's like 8 episodes or something. And it really made me feel like, okay, these stories are important and we can make a difference. And the problem is they put it on a Monday night, which was kind of insane. It's a very Sunday night show. And it was same time slot as 2.5 Men.
Oh my goodness.
So it was the dueling.
And of course, that show was
A juggernaut.
Yes, a juggernaut.
Yeah.
So 8 episodes of that show.
Yeah, and that went away. And then, just life went on. But, Long Lost
Was in your heart.
found
at that
me.
point. Yeah.
They actually came to me, and the executive producers told me, they said, you were the first one cast because you were known for this and from your personal experience. And then Chris Jacobs and I started doing the show, and we did it for 6 seasons. And it was honestly, it was a throwaway show. It was a little show that could. They decided to order, a full season of it, and it was so successful. I mean, I remember begging people to kind of we needed to cast it. We need to find good stories. And it was really, really hard in the beginning. And by season 2, we went from having to beg people to be on the show to 30,000 people applying to be on the show.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
30,000. There's something in here that I think is very interesting in that here you are a person who understands the sensitivity of the adoption process. You understand that these are people's lives that get disrupted by this experience of reunifying. And now you're reunifying people on television. Were you able to influence how that took place?
Oh, yes.
Talk about that.
Absolutely. I told them I did not want to do the show unless it was handled authentically. We were giving, for lack of a better term, due process to the adoptive parents. There's a lot of feelings that go in. As an adoptive mom, as an adoptee, I kind of know the full circle of it and the experience of putting people together. So they were fully aware of that. And they used that experience that Chris and I both had as adoptees. And
the producers.
yeah, and I think that that's why the show worked, because there's never been a more pure piece of television that I've ever done in my life. What you see is what you get. You have one shot at it. And there was no do-overs. When I'm telling somebody that I found somebody, that's the first time they're hearing this. And the responsibility that we hold in shepherding them and giving them safety through that process, I, as an empath, would live that experience with them for 5 days, which is good and bad, because it's hard to live through that yourself over and over and over, especially with your own personal experience. But I took that very seriously. These people entrusted us with the deepest, most vulnerable parts of their lives. It was the first time I'd ever done a job where I thought, there's nobody who's better versed to do this job. I felt very confident in my abilities in that, and it feels home. I love sitting across from somebody, holding their hand, crying with them, talking them through, letting them know that I'm there and that I see them and I understand where they've been through, what they've been through. There's something very extremely validating for people.
And you're deciding, I think, so wisely that telling these stories publicly, right? Because that's the difference. It's like you're asking people to then give this publicly to people they don't know. And it's a huge ask. But it seems like your guiding light was, this is so important because now we can let all these other people know they're not alone. And have that be the driving force of, I'm going to take the risk to put it on television and to ask people to do this. I mean, it's so brave.
The fear, it's so brave of them. The fear, it's hard to explain. When there are secrets, especially back when I was adopted, there's a lot of shame associated with that. So if you can get rid of the secrets, the shame goes away. And that's what I wanted. And that's part of the reason that I wanted to adopt my child, because I wanted to be able to shepherd him through life and help him with the things that I struggled with. We could identify with the same things, and hopefully he wouldn't have to go through the same thing because we have an open adoption. So it's invaluable. It would have been invaluable to me. I mean, my parents did whatever they could. They were wonderful. But to know that you're not alone in this experience.
Yes.
One of the most beautiful experiences I had was with my child when he met his birth mother. And he was very excited about it. And he jumped out of the car and I said, you're really excited today. What's going on? And he goes, Mom, I get to meet my birth mother this weekend. And I said, I'm so happy you're happy. He goes, and he grabs me and he hugs me. He goes, when did you meet yours? And I said, well, I didn't get to meet mine until I was about 37. So,
Oh, and I know how Lee was feeling in that moment had everything to do with how you set up the moment.
Yeah, I was very protective of that.
But you also, the language I'm sure you used at home was very positive and open, and you just made space for what is really the truth of the story.
Yeah. You
made space for and didn't keep those secrets or build shame, and that's just awesome. Oh my God, I could talk to you about that stuff forever. So you're juggling having this very popular show and you have a young child, big life with John. You're traveling a lot, I assume. How was all of that? Like how, because also does this put John in the +1 position to you at this point?
It kind of does because, the timeline is a little weird, but, John's show ended, finally.
Yeah.
Finally. No.
Such a great run.
But 12 seasons. I mean,
God.
it was phenomenal and it was wonderful, but he was not working for a little while. So
at some point you guys were working in tandem.
Yeah, we were working in tandem. But when the show became very popular and they were like, we went from one throw the special on to you're going to do 23 episodes for the season.
Whoa.
Yeah, it was insane. And that means travel for 5 days every time. He really had to pick up the slack.
Yeah.
And so because I was so sort of the nucleus of the family,
Yes.
I would fly.
Not sort of. I'm sure you were
But
there.
I would fly, shoot. I would have one day off. The crew would have a day off, and I would fly all the way back to LA, be with my kid, be with my husband, and then fly back. So it was kind of crazy for a little while, and he really picked up the slack.
And
on
a
that.
lot of frequent flyer miles.
Yes. Yes. And then the universe just works in a weird way where the show came to an end. TLC they wanted to sort of rebrand. And, while it was devastating that the show was ending, I was needed at home again. And so because that show was so very important and dear to me, it would have been a very difficult decision to walk away. But my family needed me. We were going through some issues at home and my child really needed me. And so I was relieved of that, by the universe.
Sometimes the universe does for us
Yeah.
what we cannot do for ourselves.
Yes. And I truly believe that. So the show ended at that time. And, then there's chat about it, coming back at some point. And I'd be willing to do it. I would love to do it. But, my world is very rich and full. So
It is. And it was so great to chat with John. And I've loved being your friend and watching all of this. And I can't wait for more chapters of your story to unfold.
Thank you.
And
I'm glad you'll be a part of them.
I feel very naturally a +1, like a third wheel. We should do another podcast called Third Wheel. And it's me just with you guys because.
But there are a lot of third wheels. I was a third wheel to a couple for quite a while too.
It's great.
Yeah.
And thinking about, having the opportunity to travel with you guys a little bit and to be in New York and to be sleeping on the couch and have John get up to go to work.
His coffee.
And he's got his coffee and I pop up with my pajamas and my messy hair and
You are always welcome to be the third wheel.
Thank you. Well, as you know how the show goes because you produce it and are a main part of it, we now get to talk to your headliner,
I'm so happy.
your partner in life, and my friend Jon Cryer. Hi, John.
Hey, Morgan.
Thank you so much for doing this and cramming us in between your shows. You have 2 shows today?
I have 2 shows today because I am a theater professional. But there's always time for you guys.
Yeah.
But I have to say, it's an incredibly fun job. It's called the 25th Annual Putnam County Spelling Bee, and it's just an absolutely beautiful production of the show. And I get to play with the audience every night. Every show is different because we bring up audience members and have them participate in the spelling bee. So, a lot of the problems that you have with doing shows, 8 shows a week is, there's a certain amount of, you got to keep it fresh. It's hard to keep the show fresh, but this show just keeps itself fresh. So it's great fun.
John, I'm so happy that I get to do this and talk to you about, well, personally, one of my favorite people, and I'm sure one of your favorite people. How did you meet this angel from heaven?
I met my wife, Lisa, actually, she interviewed me for a TV show that I was promoting at the Television Critics Association. And that is not the TV Critics Association is not usually a hotbed of eroticism. But the second that she and I were
Speak
in
for
the
yourself.
same
I know,
room together,
says John.
Yeah.
the sparks flew. She was just an incredibly fun interviewer. Because the way that they do those things at the TV Critics Association is you just get moved from room to room and you're interviewing with all these people and they're all asking the same questions. and they're doing their jobs, and that's great, but it just gets very repetitive after a while. And Lisa was just this incredibly original, fun person to talk to, and she let the interview go wherever it wanted to go, and that was really unusual. So I got an immediate crush on her. However, that was apparently not reciprocated. Apparently, our paths crossed a few times. Like, I would be doing red carpet for press events, and she'd pull me aside, and we'd do some really fun interviews, and every time it was fun. She always asked interesting questions, and she always was much more spontaneous than everybody else.
He was such a good interview
Yeah.
and so fun and so not guarded and not the publicist didn't tell him what to say kind of thing, that I always knew I was going to get something good from him. I mean, I liked you, John, but it hadn't moved into the love. But I always thought, if he's on a red carpet, I always will get him because I'll get something good.
Yes.
Continue.
Okay.
So that happened a few times. She came to shows that I was acting in, and she'd do interviews. But I was, in another relationship. I got married, had kids. It was, I had a whole other life. But we never, I never had her contact information. We never spoke privately or anything. It was just in a professional thing. And then when after I got divorced, I was going on my way to work at Warner Brothers one day, and I thought I saw her as I was driving past a house, and I was like, I think that's Lisa Joyner, who I had
Had a crush on.
had a crush on all those years. I kind of couldn't believe it. I left a note at that house. Well, I required confirmation because I had. I thought it was her, and then but it was on my way to Warner Brothers. I was not stalking at this moment, but I drove by again, and literally she was working at KCAL at that point, which is a local Los Angeles TV station, and literally there was a KCAL van right out front of her house.
Because I got really
And
lazy
so-
toward the end of my career, and I thought, well, if there's anything that I could do from my house instead of having to go in.
Smart.
So I found lots of stories to do in or near my house.
You run out
So
and you interview John on the streets the second you see him.
If I would have known.
Yep, pretty much. So I left her a note, just saying, "Hey, I'm your new neighbor," because I lived a block and a half from her house, and I didn't get any response for like a week and a half. No, she was out of town. She was out of town.
I was working.
Okay.
But of course, in my mind, I was like, "Oh, okay, she's in no way interested." Obviously, we had a lovely time talking about stuff, and
10 years
we
ago.
had a spark. But she's not into me, and that's fine. But then she came back. I got a call from her, and she said, "Oh, hey, you're new in town. Let me take you out to lunch." I was like, "Oh, okay. Oh, that's how this works. Great." So she took me out to a local sushi place. And I was absolutely terrified. I remember her driving up in her car and valeting it, and I was like, "Oh, here we go! It's go time, people! It's go time!" And we were seated at the sushi bar, and I, had some conversation back and forth with the sushi chef, but forgot to look at the woman I was on a lunch date with
I was just
for
gonna
almost the
ask
entirety
about-
of the date.
I was going to ask about the choice of the sushi bar versus a table, because you are parallel as opposed to...
Exactly.
It was lunch.
Unwise.
I mean, I love hearing his story, of how it all happened. I always throw in some if we're asking people, but I'm going to let you go, honey.
Did you
You wanna
who
hear
picked the
my
bar, the
diluted version
sushi
of
bar?
it?
I picked it. It was near our house. And the reason I picked it is because on the conversation that we'd had on the phone, by the way, when he left the note, he left every available contact information aside from smoke signals and carrier pigeon. He left his cell phone, his home phone,
Good.
his pager number. That's how long ago it was. And so I said, "Hey, you're new to the neighborhood." I knew he wasn't new to the city
Yeah,
because
yes,
he
I was-
did a show that was wildly popular. I said, "So have you been to this car wash up the street?" And he goes, "No, I haven't." And I said, "Well, have you been to this sushi place? It's really good." He goes, "Well, no, I haven't." And I said, "Well, have you?" And I kept saying that. And I was like, "Are you a hermit?"
Yeah.
And
Why are
so-
you not experiencing life?
Yeah. So he was like, "I'm working." And I'm like, "Me too." Several jobs. So the reason we chose the sushi restaurant, or I did, was because he hadn't been to it. And when I met him there at the sushi restaurant, by the way, I had to go to work afterwards.
So you
I
were
brought
really
them,
dolled up too then.
yeah, I looked cute, right, hon?
You looked very cute. Yes.
Okay. So I had a basket full of gift certificates to all the places we talked about. That's why.
What?
But see, now doesn't that, okay, so no, do you do that to every person who's new in the neighborhood? Or you did think I was kind of special, I hope.
Yes, I did, dear.
Oh, yes, yay!
But no, but at the time I was doing a segment called Lisa's It List where I would tell people where to go and around town and stuff. So I don't know, it just made sense.
It is a very platonic gift. Like, it's very thoughtful.
Yes.
But you're the concierge of
Right.
the neighborhood.
Right. And I'm just that's who I am.
Yes.
It's like, what do you need?
That is entirely how she rolls.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
But I, of course, thought this would be a hotbed of sexual tension. So I felt like my focus was best aimed at the sushi chef.
Who you had a brief affair with, and then
And then, yeah, exactly. Everything, it was a little sidetracked, but whatever.
The part that he's not saying is he did not look at me, but we laughed a lot.
Oh.
We had a banter back and forth that was very appealing and sexy to me. And we just had a wonderful lunch. It was not, it was very light and it was, it was easy and comfortable. I mean, aside from the no eye contact. And so then we went on our way. Go ahead, hon.
There was a bit of a platonic vibe. I think she thought I was gay.
You think? I told you that.
Yes,
I thought
you
he was going to be my new gay best friend. I was like,
Oh
I
my
don't know.
gosh.
I don't know exactly what this. I mean, I knew he'd been married and had a kid and stuff, but that doesn't mean anything.
no, it doesn't.
But I thought
Simply does not. It doesn't mean anything.
I didn't know what it
doesn't. It's true.
was. I was dating other people. I didn't know what it was, but I really liked it.
Yeah,
So I thought.
yes.
So I was always engaged in it and excited
You
to
wanted
see him.
to see him. Yeah.
Yeah. But I just thought, well, I got a new gay best friend.
That's what I was gonna ask when it turned.
So I was driving her to the place where I was going to pick up my son, and I don't know what exactly caused me to finally say this, but I said I feel like I should tell you that I have a terrible crush on you. And she said, "Oh well, then why haven't you ever tried to kiss me?" And I'm driving along on Ventura, and I said, "Well, because I'm driving."
And then when he kissed me, I remember going, not gay? And then I was like, come here, do that again. And he did it, and I was like, oh, okay.
yeah.
And that was pretty much it.
You should marry someone who you can't wait to do fun things with,
Yes.
And she was always like that. We genuinely have a great time together doing things. I love how she sees things. I love how she makes jokes about things. I love how she cares about things.
These are all the reasons I love her too.
Yes.
not
And I
crying.
don't blame anybody else for loving her. I totally get it.
Even though she was established in show business and having been married and had a child, did you have, in general, your guard up when you're thinking about who to date or who to have in your life?
Yes, I would. Normally, I would have had more. But the wonderful thing about Lisa was she understood so much about the business.
Yes.
She was a woman who I'd already met socially in the business several times. And always, there was always the mutual respect. There was always the understanding of what the realities of this business are. And she already knew so much about it and already, she wasn't, by the way, a huge, she hadn't ever seen Pretty in Pink when we got together.
I'm sorry, come again?
I mean, I don't know. I may have seen it early on. It was just a long time. I didn't know it well, but I knew the character.
Okay. I mean, it's okay.
So we have silenced her.
Yeah, I'm speechless. Which I think bodes well. Like, I had a similar thing with Matt. I wasn't fanfaring, you know? I was talking about the bathrooms at UCB really needing an upgrade. And he was like, okay.
I remember the moment when I knew that I was going to be married to her and live the rest of my life with her. And it was about 6 months into our relationship. And we were out at a restaurant and she just looked at me at one point. She said, "Hey, are we going to live together?" And I just suddenly knew it. I said, yeah, we are. And we're gonna be married the rest of our lives if we can.
The moment it turned for me was when I was driving to San Diego to visit family, and I was talking to him on the phone, and we were joking and having the best time, and he was giving me hints to where, take this road, this toll road or whatever.
Traffic talk is hot, hot, hot. It is.
And I said, and I thought, things would be so much better if he was with me. And that's when, for me, okay, yeah, this is different.
How long have you been together now?
In a week.
Almost 20 years.
Well, our anniversary is coming up, and that's 19, and we were together for 2 years before that.
For 2 years before that. Yeah. So 21 years, actually. Yeah.
Oh, you guys.
Oh my gosh.
And it seems, I mean, having spent time with the two of you together, it seems this all rings true. Like hearing how you met, hearing how you were very instantly easy with each other is still how I experience you.
When all hell broke loose on my show, 2.5 Men, it was a very scary time because my co-star was, we were worried that he could not be living much longer at that point. And it really changed our lives because suddenly we were part of one of the biggest stories on the planet Earth at that time, which was the meltdown of one of the most famous American actors and the highest paid actor in television. And it transformed our lives because suddenly we were under a microscope. The paparazzi were following us and sitting outside of our house and coming after us in all kinds of new ways. And my job was in danger, and it wasn't anything we had asked for. And I have to say, having Lisa, who comes from the world of entertainment journalism, and having her both know how that world works and know how my world works, I will never forget how incredibly supportive and helpful she was at that time. And honestly, I don't know if there is anybody who could have helped me more at that time. It brought us closer because it was such a difficult, hard time. And I was so lucky to have somebody in my life who understood it and understood that doesn't happen to everybody, and having somebody who can understand what's going on and help you get through it. It brought us closer.
Jon, is there a time that you can think of where you felt like a plus one to Lisa?
Oh, sure. One of the things that has also been amazing for our marriage has been that we both really love and appreciate how the other pursues their work. Like Lisa, was a really fun and engaging entertainment journalist, but she also did a wonderful show for TLC called Long Lost Family. And that had this incredible emotional bond with the viewers. Viewers were absolutely insane for that show. And it had this incredible fan base. And, Lisa was transforming people's lives. I mean, it was a very rare thing because she was working on a show that she really believed in. And that when she did it, she went about it with incredible integrity. And again, that's rare in this business. So there was always that sort of baseline respect that we had for each other. We still get approached by fans of that show and actual people that she reunited.
It's so incredible what you did on that show.
It was such a gift. It was such a gift to be able to do it.
And the way that show integrated all the skills and all the experience you'd had with your own personal life, being adopted, finding your family, and then all your experience with being a great interviewer, right? Someone who's warm and engages people and gets them to open up. I mean, it really probably synthesized all your skills.
Yeah, that's the only thing I could do.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because she's also helped me because I got very interested in the area of wrongful conviction. So I joined a podcast called Undisclosed as an interviewer for them. I would do interviews that whenever they had special guests. And it was a really fun job, but I'm not an interviewer. So Lisa had to teach me how to do it. And slowly I got better, but it took a long time. But again, I think the fact that we pursue our work lives together is just fun. It keeps adding new layers to our relationship. Because the thing about marriages is you're agreeing to be with somebody who we're both going to grow. You know, and sometimes people grow apart and that's understandable, but sometimes you get lucky and you grow together. And we've been so lucky that way. We've pursued stuff together and, I've helped her with projects. She's helped me with projects. And then there's just ones that we just straight up did together. And it's always been fun and interesting. And we disagree sometimes, but we've always had good ways of getting through it.
John has always been a champion. I mean, we've both been staunch supporters of each other. I mean, as humans, but also in career. And, there have been times where he thinks about the family, says, I can't do this because I'd be away too long. And I'm like, if you love it, we'll make it work. And he's always said that to me. With Long Lost, I mean, he was Mr. Mom for a while. I mean, he was still working, but he was like, I would be out for a long time, and he was right there supporting me, knowing that this was something I was so deeply entrenched in and loved and passionate about. Kind of my life's work, honestly.
Yes.
And so we've got that respect. And if we do disagree, like he was saying, it's not a fight. It's never nasty.
And challenging each other is great.
Yeah.
I mean, that's creativity at its best, right?
Yeah. I mean, I was pretty good as the Mr. Mom. I would occasionally call her with issues that she really didn't need to be bothered with at that moment.
Occasionally?
Like, hey, honey, where's the pizza cutter? It's like, no.
If you were able to make an introduction of Lisa, say at a Lifetime Achievement Award or some sort of event, how would you introduce her?
Oh, that's a great question.
Thank you.
I would introduce my wife, Lisa, as a person who has so many things that she wants to do in her life that she makes impatience to accomplish things into an art form. It's just, there's so much that she wants to do. There's so many lives she wants to touch and so many things that she hopes that she can make better. She wakes up every morning with a million things she wants to do. And I just love it. I love watching it. But I love taking a nap and letting her do those things while I nap.
Sure.
Because there's so many things she wants to do.
Thank you, honey.
She is, that's true.
I love you, baby.
I love you too.
Okay, get a room. Is there a particular story that makes you really laugh?
This is a story about love. It is, we were going out to the Ojai Valley Inn, which is a lovely hotel. We were there with Lee when he was very, very young. And he always had a bit of an elaborate bed routine, very, very bonded with Lisa. They really had to spend those last few minutes before he went to sleep together so that he could go to sleep. And it was very important. And we got there, and an old friend of Lisa's was there, and they had not talked in a while. And they really wanted to talk. And Lisa had been very stressed out as a mom at that point. So she absolutely deserved it. It was like a night to just hang out with her friend and gab a little bit.
Had a little wine.
Our child back to the room.
Eye contact.
And Lisa was like, we're just going to talk for 20 minutes and then I'll be there and I'll help you put Lee to bed. And we're like, okay, great. 20 minutes pass, a half hour passes, 40 minutes passes. And I'm thinking I got to get Lee to bed. And I call down and Lisa says, we're talking, we're having a great time, but we're going deep. So a little more time passes. Another half hour passes. I'm reading to Lee. I'm trying to get him to go to sleep. It's
Song
just
and
not.
dance,
It's not.
song
He's
and
not
dance.
cooperating. He's getting crankier and crankier. I call again. This time, I'm talking with her friend, who's also named Lisa, and her friend sounds like she's had a couple, and she says, "Yeah, we're going deep." And I was like, okay, they are definitely going deep. And she said, but Lisa's going to come back 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes. That's, tops. I lay down in bed and I'm mad about it. And I'm
He's
like,
pissed.
and I'm tossing and turning, and I hear the little golf cart pull up, and I hear my wife trying to get in the room, and there's the knob is going, but I'm like, I don't even want to talk about it. So I'm going to
He's
pretend
so
I'm
pissed.
asleep at this point.
We never get mad at each other. He's really mad at this point.
Yes. So she comes in the room, and I realize my wife is drunk. And my wife has been drunk twice in our marriage. I've never seen her. Again, at this point, I think this was the first time I'd ever seen her drunk. But she is making every effort not to wake me up. Like, there's a little bit of brushing, a little bit of toothbrushing, but all of it is very clunky because, like, when she puts things down, she misses the counter and she's falling over a little and she has to pee, and but all of it, again, I'm mad and awake but pretending to be asleep. And I'm just like fuming still, just like, ah. And finally, um, she's standing there and she stops and suddenly she lets go of the loudest fart that I have ever experienced. It was thunderous. It was like a just it was a blunderbuss of a fart and and I freeze and she freezes because it's like this is this weird moment where I could pretend to still be asleep and that I never heard it. But we all know it was the loudest thing that has hit Ojai in since the SpaceX rocket launches.
It would wake
And,
anyone. It would wake anyone.
Exactly. It's like, so who are we kidding here? But also, she could pretend at this moment that I'm asleep, or she could assume I'm asleep, and who cares if But at that moment, we both freeze, and time stands still for a moment, and then my wife says the most lovely, sweet thing. She says, "That was me," and I and I loved that in that moment where she didn't know if I was even awake to hear the thing, she still copped to it.
I had to be honest. And I knew how to dispel the anger.
Yeah.
But I also loved that she was copping to it as though I wouldn't have known that it wasn't me.
That's the thing.
As though
It's so funny to be like,
though
that was me. It's like, yeah, I know it
yes.
was you. Got it.
So again, that was to me that was real love. Was her letting me know that was not in fact me at that
You're
moment.
welcome.
That was great.
You see why I love him?
Yes. I mean, I knew why you loved him and also why so many other people love him, but to see and hear, well, the stories.
Yes. That's one of the greatest gifts, is that he and I continue to discover life together and find it amusing, interesting, and unbelievable.
Yeah.
There's still a sense of wonder. And even though we know each other very well, I honestly put that relationship very high up, and it's very, very important to me.
So it's me and then John. Like I'm at the top and then John.
It depends on who needs me more.
Yeah. If John was unavailable and you could pick anyone, living or dead, to be your plus one, who would you pick?
I know it would be my dad. Yeah. My dad died way too soon. Both of my parents died way too soon. And I had a connection with my dad. I was daddy's little girl for sure. We were very similar. He actually left the military because he was away so much that I didn't know who he was. I didn't recognize, and he left the military early, retired, because he was like, my daughter has to know who I am. So he was self-taught, never went to college, he was a veteran, 20 years in the military, and he was book smart, man. He just read and read and read and read, and he saw the world through reading. And when he traveled in the military, he would tell me these stories about places he had gone. And we always had these ideas of places we wanted to go. I didn't grow up with any money at all. So he said, we could save up and we could go to the Plaza Hotel in New York and we could have tea, and we didn't get a chance to do that. So my dad would be my plus one.
That's so good. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I love you.
I love you too.
And also, I mean, I'm sure I'd be your plus one too, but no big.
Oops.
Thank you. Okay, listeners, if you have a headliner or a plus one you want to hear from, please write us, let us know.
Yes.
And follow us on social media. Plus one with Lisa and Morgan is our handle, so please follow us and also
subscribe.
Comment. And comment if they're nice comments. And do the review. This is my pen, my feather pen.
Yeah, with a feather and a
us
quill. we also want to hear your plus one stories.
Yes.
I would love, because everybody's been there.
Yep.
So if you have a moment to share one of your plus one stories, we'd love to talk about it on our show.
We want it. If there's any, random farts in a room, we want to know about them.
Oh my God.
That was me.
That was me. Thank you. We'll see you next time.